Hi, YouTube.
That's how you were. Hey, camera.
Oh, where's my camera? Am I looking at that lens?
Is this my camera?
All right.
Just is it this one here?
I don't. The budget's not that big. It's just this one.
The budget's not. One day we'll have a multicam.
Yeah, and a studio audience.
And a studio.
For now, the laugh track will have to do. Laugh track.
Welcome to our first ever YouTube exclusive. Pia and I, we originally bonded over our absolute obsession with true crime.
Oh my God.
I remember actually when we discovered that we were obsessed with true crime. I don't remember if we were discussing a specific thing or if it was like, I mentioned something and we realized like, oh, wait, you're into this. And it was like on from there.
When you meet your soul person of true crime, it's like insane. Like you go down a rabbit hole and good luck to everyone around you because they're going to find out about the most interesting serial killers, cases, and miscellaneous things to do with true crime.
And so like, cause we met working at a restaurant. And so it was a very busy night, but like, if you've ever worked in a restaurant, you know how it is. Like you'll have your conversation, then you go and like, you're busy. And then you remember exactly where you were. And then as soon as you can, you're like, okay, what we were talking about. And so we kept going right back into it. We're like,
I know I would be at a table and I'm like, oh, I got to tell her about this thing. And then I would like, hurry up, give me your order. Cause I got to go chat in the back.
Yeah. And so throughout the years, we've occasionally like sent each other. That's what's kept us in touch, to be honest.
Yeah.
More so, I didn't even know you were a huge Bravo fan. I knew you were a huge true crime fan.
That's true.
Right. More so, I didn't know that was.
We never ever even once talked about Bravo.
Isn't that weird?
I know. It's like one of those things. I think that Bravo can sometimes be like a guilty pleasure. Like sometimes people put judgment on it. So you don't divulge it right away. Like, you know,
it is. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It's like, it's because no one in my life really liked Bravo. So I was like, I just assume no one cares like I care.
Yeah. I have a friend at work and she's like one of my like closest friends at work right now, until she pisses me off. And I was on my break. I often will like listen to your stories and stuff like that during my break. And she hates like reality shows. She thinks she's like, so stupid. Above it, fairly pretentious with that. And I was listening. This is before she had known that I like sometimes I'm a guest on your pod or whatever. It was like the beginning of it. And I was like listening to your thing and it was about Bravo and she had no context. She's like, what stupid thing are you listening to right now? And I said, excuse. I whipped my head so quick. I said, excuse me. That's my friend's podcast. And furthermore, I'm on it, you bitch. She was like, oh, I am so sorry. I was like, yeah, you never know.
Put some respect on Bravo.
She was like, I was just joking. I was dug yourself in this one, bitch.
You said too late.
I will not help you for the rest of the night. I hope you're in the weeds.
You said, I will watch you drown.
Yes. I hope all your tables are mean. And I hope they're all Bravo celebrities.
I hope you get all the bad Bravo celebrities. So today we are here. We're here to talk about the new Hulu original, Keeper of the Ashes, the Oklahoma Girl Scout murders.
Oh my gosh.
Did you know this story?
So I just recently found out. Before I knew that there was a documentary. Like several months ago, I don't know, I think it was on TikTok maybe, because I found the TikTok true crime corner. So I'll find like really random things, which is so helpful because I started.
I need you to send me those links.
Yeah, when I find them.
Corner. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because like now they'll pop up like once you get into a rhythm, they'll pop up more.
Yeah, I need the algorithm to pick that up for me.
Yeah. So I had heard that Kristin Chenoweth was connected to these weird Girl Scout murders. So I had heard about this months ago. And then it was only recently that I saw that she was doing a docuseries on it. So I will admit that this is why you have to be careful, though, with TikTok, because people like to throw content up so quickly. So a lot of times when I do see true crime stuff and I'm familiar with the cases, sometimes I'm like, those aren't all of that's not completely correct. And so I don't take everything like with the letter of the law now with TikTok and true crime. But I will take the story and then maybe go research it on my own. Because
look at that. Look at you.
Because the way that they made it seem, I thought Kristin Chenoweth was much more connected to it and involved than it's turning out to be.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Yes, I have
opinions on that too. Oh, I'm so glad I didn't like voice memo you because I wanted to.
That is often a hard time because we know we're gonna record.
Yeah,
and so prior to Pia and I doing these, like, because now Pia is a co-host on my podcast. And by the way, if you don't listen to my podcast, She Speaks Bravo, we drop a new episode Friday or Saturday, depending on when it's a new Beverly Hills recap. Boom, boom, boom. And so we always used to like voice memo almost daily. And then we realized that we were not saving it for the pod.
Yeah.
And so there are times when I'm watching a show and I like have my phone in my hand and I'm like about to send a message and I'm like, just write it down.
Yeah.
And save it for later.
Even with my boyfriend, I'll like start talking about whatever I just watched because I like need to get it out. And he's like, are you doing your dry run on me or like for like the pod?
Your dry run?
I'm like, I'm not. I just like need to get it out of my body.
Sean is so relieved. He's like, I'm so happy you have this outlet.
Like, no joke. And I think I've told you this before. I would, especially with Bravo, actually, no, with true crime too. He does not like true crime. He thinks it's extremely weird that he's like, you just wake up to murder.
Men don't get it.
They don't get it. He's like, I don't understand this. You wake up, it's 7 a.m. and I'm hearing about 3 gruesome murders of children. It's 7 a.m. Piaget. Like, and not only that, you went to bed with the murder as well. You just you wake up and you go to bed. You find this enjoyable? I'm eating eggs. Like, like
men really don't get why. And it's funny that it is a woman genre.
I think it's because we are the most vulnerable. Like, you know, and I don't think it's not like we're taking pleasure in people's tragedy. You know what I mean? I think it's more of like, and as we've talked about this before, it helps me understand what went wrong and things that you could have done differently, maybe, or like ways of protection, like now, or like warning signs, things like that. We pick up on things now. Like now we're just more like, oh, that's weird behavior. That's not normal.
We have discussed when like the Tinder swindler and all those like con artist, true crime movies and documentaries and docuseries were coming out. We were like, see, here's the thing. We watch so much true crime. This could never be me.
Yeah. It almost, I felt bad because my empathy radar for especially the, was it worst roommate ever or something?
Worst roommate ever.
Worst roommate ever. My meter for empathy is really high. And I was like, oh no, I've watched so much true crime that I'm almost like slightly victim blaming here, especially those last couple episodes where I was like, what in the hell? Like these were like cute, like the red flags were just so bright and so many that I was just so confused on how this was even a story because it couldn't have possibly happened to so many people. Like what? I was so confused by it. And I like was ashamed that I was like a little like, ooh, like she was like, it was my fault. I was like, it was your fault. Like, why didn't you know that person was weird when they like lied to you from the beginning? And
it might be fun for us to recap worst roommate ever. Actually, just to like mock the hell. We can consider that because that would actually just. I might need to do that for my own soul because I was like, what is wrong with her?
Yeah.
Like the one who was like, she threw a party and was mocking him when he was blowing smoke under his door. And then she just stayed living with him.
The things that we are literally told never to do with someone who is unstable, she did them all. Provoke, like I'm not saying you can't stand up for yourself, but what she did was, for a person that seemed very mentally unstable, you do not do those type of things. You do not play with them like that. That leads to murder.
And then she's like, and then he's all attacking me. I'm like, no shit. You stayed living with him one-on-one in the house. That was the dumbest thing you could have done. So yeah, we might need to recap those.
You know, my favorite one was he took all my chairs. Now I would have been like, bro,
we're done.
Taking all my damn chairs. The hell? No, you need to leave.
Yeah, no, we should. That's what we're gonna do next. We're gonna do worst roommate ever.
It's gonna be like true crime where you're like, this is silly.
We're definitely going to do worst roommate ever next. We're definitely doing that next. Okay. So speaking of not funny true crime.
Yeah, no, this was not funny.
We're going to handle this very delicately. I promise. There will be no like laughing at any of this because it is a horrible story. Someone reached out to me on Instagram and said that the Morbid podcast covered this.
Oh, okay.
I didn't listen to it. But they said, they're like, after hearing it on that, I don't know if I can even watch the series because it's such a dark story. And I was like, I get it. However, the opening of this is the kind of opening I like. It's got like the big score where it's like, and it's like kind of it's giving you like the roundup of what's going on.
Yeah.
And like the monologue with like, you know, Kristin, and she says, first it says 3 girls were beaten to death. Now, see, as a true crime watcher, when you hear beaten to death, you're like, now that's different.
Mm-hmm.
Shot, not the same.
Yeah.
Beaten to death. Ooh.
It's so personal.
Ooh. It's personal.
We know, you know that. Yeah.
The ages 8, 9, and 10.
So young.
Especially after this elementary school shooting. It's like, oh my God. Like we've just seen all these pictures of very young kids.
Did you see the video I sent you?
I did.
That I did not know that. I did not know that. That's how big a bullet hole is for a semi-automatic. Is that true? I didn't know that.
No one watching knows what we're referring to.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. So they don't know what we're talking about.
Sorry. I sent her a TikTok and it was like explaining what, for like the school shooting, it was explaining what it looks like with an exit wound from a semi-automatic bullet. And it's like the size of a small like bread plate. And that's crazy. And they're so small. So it's just like that visually, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I know. So as we stated, Kristin, the draw, I guess, was that Kristin is a name and that she was even slightly connected to it. And it's shaped her. Fine. I get it. And she's going to give us like some big cinematic moments, which I'm not mad at. You know, I like a little theater. And so she gives us this monologue. At the end of each camp, one of the girls would become the keeper of the ashes from the last bonfire.
Are you an impressionist now? Like, I feel like you're really good at impressions.
They've been smoldering for decades now. It's time to put them out.
So good.
I was like, I'm in.
Stop. I could just see you at home just being like,
I was like, as I was typing, I was like, I'm in. I had to pause, rewind. I'm like, let me get it right. I need to get it right because it was so good.
It was really good. It was very cinematic. It was very,
I loved the opening.
Yeah. It was very like, yeah, I do love that it's not that she's like a huge part of it, but like she is like, that's like, it helps you get even more connected to it. And like and it gives you that like personal touch of like that could happen to anybody. Like you are one decision away from like something different happening to you. So that was an interesting perspective.
Because that, I get it. Like she was sick, couldn't go, and then this happened.
Mm-hmm.
That would freak me out for the rest of my life too.
Right?
Oh my God. I don't care. Because as it goes through, she's like, I only like saw these people in passing.
Right.
It still would affect me the rest of my life.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy scary. And it's also probably, I'm curious, is that when I need to look this up, but remember the movie Friday the 13th? Like, yeah. Like that's what it like. I wonder if it was like out around that time too, because that probably was even more scarier for like people going to camp, and then that happened at a camp. That's like kind of almost like directly out of like one of those like movies. I wonder like if like they made any correlations with that like movie.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
You mean like, did this come out first? Did this happen first and then the movie came out, or vice versa?
Either way, because it was the 70s, and I believe those movies came out in the 70s. So like there could be some type of like interesting connection with that. I don't know.
Ooh. I hope it wasn't. I hope the movie wasn't like inspired by this.
I just literally thought of that right now. It's like,
oh, that's so dark.
Yeah, like I don't know, because like Camp Crystal Lake, and then like I mean, I don't know.
See, that's your genre is horror, and it's not mine, and so this will be good reference because I don't have that catalog in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, dark. I hope it wasn't inspired by this.
Now I'm like, I'm gonna later. I'll try
later.
To see,
yeah.
I just thought of that.
Wow. And then it turns out we get a really great young Barbara Walters moment, which is fantastic.
Barbara is just, I swear to God, Barbara, like literally, she has just been around forever.
I just love it.
When she popped up, my face just lit up.
Well,
like the
too.
OG, the 2020 queen herself. I still watch 2020, but I miss her. She was my favorite.
Yeah. Turns out one of them was sexually molested, which always adds a layer. It adds another layer. And
unfortunately, when it's dealing with like young children like that, you almost kind of assume that's what,
right? Because that's part
like, what's your motive? What's your
mm-hmm.
motive for just targeting children? Usually it's somebody who has that infinity for doing
affinity.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Here we go. Lori's parents are Sherry and Bo Farmer, maybe the cutest people in the world. Oh, she's so cute. She's got a little smile on her face the whole time. And they look like they have truly done a great job recovering, as great as they can do. Like I was impressed with, they seemed somehow at peace, but still honoring her. Like, we watch so much true crime and not all parents can recover. And they seemed like they have done a decent enough job, because you can't ever get over this.
Right.
But they have they had other kids. They were talking about their other kids. They said they had 2 med school kids, 1 intern kid, and 1 residency kid. Is that talking about like now?
Probably. I mean,
what did that mean?
Did
that mean when he was in school?
No.
If you don't know, then I'm going to move on, because I was like, what are we talking about?
No, I don't know.
Right. I was, when they were mentioning that, I was like trying to write it down, but I got confused. But they had a big family.
Yeah.
Lots of kids. And then the other amazing mother was Doris's mom. And this just killed me. Betty Milner.
She got me a couple times
crying. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because
her pain is so still, I feel like her pain just feels so like present. Like it almost like she got the call yesterday. Like it still feels so like it's always there for her in her voice. Like you can hear it.
And the way she was talking about Doris too was so cute. How she always met someone she wanted to talk to. And when she was trying to go to bed, she said, "But Mom, I just have one more thing to tell you." I was like, I cannot. But then the worst part is that she didn't want to go to camp, but her mom forced her to go.
That one really broke my heart when she said that, because I think that's probably why it seems like it's hard. Like she is still dealing with it the most, because unlike the other couple, like there's that guilt of she said that she had this feeling, and even though, because like the difference was like, it wasn't like a typical kid who was just like, hey, I don't want to go to camp. That happens all the time. Parents force their kids to go to camp all the time against the will to help them be able to, like, you know, have a little independence and not be so codependent on their parents. It happens all the time. But it was the fact that, this is the eerie part for me, it was the fact that she was so excited to go to camp. And then all of a sudden, the day before, something was changed, and she just had this immediate reaction that she did not want to go. Like it was like a very big switch. And of course, like how would there's no one could predict that this would happen. Like who would think of such a thing? And her mom did everything she could to assure her. And even like, you know, like if you don't like it, I'll come pick you up. And I do believe she meant that. And it's just unfortunate that she just never had the opportunity to fulfill that promise to come pick her up, because it happened so quickly into camp. It's just so sad. And it also
those are the things that just replay.
Exactly. That guilt that she carries, I feel like, it's just so unfair. It's so unfair, and it's not her fault. It's not her fault, but it's like how can you not feel that as a parent when that happens? And the intuition, like, and that remind like, you know, you have those like feelings like, oh, I don't want to do something. And it's like, it's in those moments, like people are like, always listen to that. And it's like, and yes, that was a real reminder for me. Like if something, it does not feel right, do not do it. Like, don't do it.
And then to kind of like break up the sadness, they give us this like Kristin cinematic moment. It's like Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. And it's a bunch of like cinematic shots of Kristin and her like homecoming, and like lens flares as she like walks into the school. And she's like, I didn't really know the girls personally, but I saw them walking through the halls. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of unnecessary, but I like it. And then we get the dusty reporters, Bob Sands and Michael Bocher. And they're like, they were covering the story. And obviously everyone was haunted by this. How can you not be haunted by this? And so I like that we're getting this motivation. They're like, we are determined before we die to figure out what happened. And I'm like, yes, I love some dusty ass reporters, because I want to see people who were involved back then that were covering it, who have access to like all the dusty
archives,
clippings and archives. Stuff. Yeah.
And the things that may have not made sense then, and especially with technology, like we caught so many serial killers from that time.
Yeah.
Recently, because of technology that just was not available at that at that time. Can I say one thing though about the Kristin bits?
Yeah.
I did love the opening, and especially your rendition of it in the beginning of the series with her monologue. Are you feeling like it's starting to pull focus a little for you? Like sometimes
it's hysterical. It's like they realized, I feel like they realized, this is how I imagine it in my head. Kristin like pitched it to them. She's like, guys, I've been wanting to talk about this story for a really long time. It's haunted me forever, and it's so close to my heart. And they're like, oh, wow. Okay, cool. Amazing. Yeah. They like greenlight it.
Yeah.
And then when they start to interview everybody and they start to get more of Kristin's story, they're like,
you don't fit into it as much.
Did you guys realize that she like barely knew these people, and like literally nothing happened to her? She just like didn't go to camp.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
that's
what are we gonna do with her now?
I know, that's how I kind of felt though about it. Like when I was watching it, I was like, oh, I thought that, like, because I was a Girl Scout. Were you a Girl Scout?
Ooh, I was a brownie.
So that's like the right before you become a Girl Scout. So you still counts because it's still in that realm. So I didn't know that, like, at least for where I did Girl Scouts back at home, like we went to camp only with our troop. So in my head before this all started, it was much more of an intimate Girl Scout camping trip. It wasn't this big like Parent Trap like camp for like a whole bunch of different like troops to go to. Like I didn't like realize it was going to be like so many different Girl Scouts, which is why she like, it makes sense. Like everybody who was a Girl Scout in the town went to this damn camp. And so she was just one of like many people who were invited to go to this camp. So I thought that when they were like, and she was sick and she didn't end up going, I thought like she was literally like, she was supposed to be the fourth little girl there. That's what I thought in my head. I was like, oh my God. Like it felt like more of like a missed situation. And then when I realized in the grand scheme of things, like I
think everyone involved in production thought so too. And then
I was like, oh, I was like, is it? No. Here's what I'm going to say. Like a deflation.
Here's what I'm going to say. I think what I'm going to do as she keeps getting kind of like forced in there is look at it as like a comedic reprieve.
Okay. And
because it's camp. It's like there's lens flares. She's slow-mo walking through the halls. It's completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look at it as camp comedy in the middle of such a dark show because she's completely unnecessary.
Yeah. And it's like,
except it's a name draw.
Yeah. I'm not mad. I'm not completely mad about it, but yeah, I was just like, I felt like, I was like, I almost felt like, no. Am I alone in feeling like no. This seems like she's being forced into yes. this narrative that I am. Yes. Sometimes I'm like, we can cut Kristin down a little bit more. Get back to the story. Cause I'm actually much more interested in talking to people who are actually there.
Yeah. No, I'm laughing at it because I know that the production team was like, okay.
Yeah.
Kristin
like they
kind of bamboozled us.
And she's probably producing it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
She was the one who came up with the idea.
Yeah.
Because she knows the story so well. And so they were like, okay, Kristin is or like, she, like you said, she's producing it. And so she's like, I am going to have this scene.
Yeah. I feel like if it was me and I was in charge and I could like control her in any way, I would be like, I know you have come from a very a theater, especially musical theater background, which I hate musicals for this very reason. They're very just like jarring to me, like where people just all start singing at me for no reason. So that's why I don't really love musicals. Some musicals make it work, but like if it's just all singing, it just pisses me off for some reason.
Fair.
But I would like make her like we could still incorporate her, but I would make her more grounded. Like let's take out the shticks. Like let's just
it's so over the top.
Yeah,
it also doesn't fit in with any of the rest of it.
Yeah, because it jars me. That's why I think that's why I'm like not necessarily like I'm like, can we cut it down more then? Because it's like sometimes it lingers on too long for me, and I'm like, okay, like back to the real story.
I'm gonna take it and because it's not gonna go away.
Well,
let's just look at it like a comedic reprieve. And
I'm accepting it. I'm accepting the convention of what is. I just had to say it once.
Okay.
And now it's said. And now we know.
And now we know. All right. Okay. Now we get Carla Will-White, who was a camp counselor, and she's talking about how, she was a Girl Scout, and she's like, look, when I would go away to camp, it's like, you forget about the homesickness after a few days, and after a few days, you're home. And then after that, they show shots of like all the girls in like bathing suits. And I'm like, oh, she had a girlfriend at camp. That's where she found out she could just be a lesbian, be happy. And I was like, oh my God, I get it. Like, all these people who like all these women, because obviously like this woman's a lesbian, right?
Okay. So you're blowing my mind right now. Did not pick up on that part. Now I'm going to have to rewatch that part. No, I didn't pick up on that part, but that actually makes sense.
She just seems like she was like,
no, that makes sense.
Like, it just seemed like she found herself. And I'm sure back at that time, being gay wasn't as cool as it is now.
Of course not. Like,
not
it was
cool as in like cool, but like, okay. And
yeah, like you probably like everybody was like, I feel like every family was like ultra religious. Like that was not going to be something that you were able to go home. And I think they're in, where are they again? They're in Tulsa. They're in Tulsa, by the way.
They're in Oklahoma. Yeah. So
like also,
I feel like she was like at camp, just like having a girlfriend and just being herself. And she's like, oh my God, I love camp. Camp is the best place in the world.
Yeah. I literally took it as
she becomes a counselor.
I literally took it as face value of just being like, she just loves camp. But like, actually, if you really peel back the layers of it, I think that you're onto something here. Like that makes that. I almost missed that. That makes so much, like I'm replaying all of that in my head right now. Like that actually, okay. Look at that.
And that's why it's even more sad because like camp was so magical and special to her. And then this tragedy occurs and ruins everything. I'm like, oh, she was just a happy, like, I mean, maybe she's not a lesbian, but I feel like she is. Right.
I mean, I can see why you would feel that way. And I guess I just never thought about it. But in connection to what you're saying, that actually does make a lot of sense. Because I mean, a lot of kids really experiment with their sexuality at camp, like whether it be in a homosexual or heterosexual relationship. Right. A lot of people explore. There's like there many time to be kind of like an adult where you don't have your parents around constantly. So you have a little bit more freedom to do things that maybe your parents would kind of stifle.
Yeah.
So that makes sense to me. I don't think that's I don't think that's a far-fetched theory.
Right.
I don't think I'm with you on this. I'm with you.
Okay. Okay. We co-sign it. Okay,
I'm with you.
Okay. Yeah. Then they have they talk about like the whole experience of what, like, I never went to camp. So like the buses and the suitcases, and Michelle Hoffman, the camp director, talks about how she spotted Doris being upset and not wanting to go, and how she promised her mom that she would keep an eye on her. Oh my God. Like they put those Easter eggs in there just to really like,
they really want to twist that knife in us, like
in there to let us know. Because of course, when tragedies happen, you replay all of that. Yeah. Because that's why it's such a tragedy. It like stops, it like disrupts everything in a life that was just going. Boom. Ugh. So then they describe this location, and I am a city girl. And so this would truly terrify me. Truly. Like,
yes. I mean, I think that it would terrify everyone.
Like these, they're pulling into, it's like secluded. And I'm like, I would be no fucking way would my parents send me to this secluded location for a week, because hell no. And I get it's a different time, like, but there's no cell phone reception, I'm sure.
Well, there's no cell phones.
Exactly. So like no one's even thinking about that back then. But it just, also being a city girl and watching true crime, this looks like a place where crime is committed.
Well, this is
this is the problem with watching true crime.
Well, the problem is, unfortunately, especially for kids, for anybody of that, it's the 70s. We have to remember, none of this true crime stuff existed yet. So they are literally our blueprint of why we are more like antennas up. They unfortunately had,
oh my God, that's so true.
They had nothing. That was a time where kids were able to, their parents, you woke up, you left your house, and you came back when the streetlights came on, and your parents had no idea what happened in between.
Oh my God, it's so true. They were the blueprint.
That's why we have Amber Alerts. That's why we have we had, what's that show that America's Most Wanted, because his son was abducted from a mall. Like, so he dedicated the rest of his life to helping people. Like are all the things that we've watched and we got taught was because of these type of cases. And people like have it like, and it's sad that like had to happen, and for us to be able to like learn and move on and be safe. But I actually did go to Girl Scout camp. And now that I think about it, damn, like it was like, I was excited and everything like that, but it was like, Yeah, like some shit could have had. I was secluded. I would like I still don't even know where they took us. We went in a car. Ours were like smaller. It wasn't a big camp like that. It was just my troop. And they rented like some cabins in the woods, and we were out there, and there were no lights in the outhouses. Like it was like outhouses like that. And there's no lights in there. So when the sun went down, it's just pitch black.
Oh my God.
You have your packing list. You're told to bring a flashlight because there's no electricity.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah. Was
it scary? I
had a blast.
Okay.
But also I wasn't watching I watched scary movies my whole life. So like, I don't know why I didn't correlate it with that. I just think I was a naive child thinking like adults protect me, so nothing's going to happen. I was very trusting of like authority figures their jobs are to protect me. So like, I'm cool. I'm good. Like they will sacrifice their body for me. That's what I literally thought.
Okay,
I wholeheartedly believed that. Now I don't think I'm sending my kids to camp. Like, sorry, that's not going to be something that happens for me. Like
I was not outdoorsy then. I'm not outdoorsy now. So like, I'm looking at it like this looks like when they were describing it, like it was hot and humid. I'm like, there's no AC.
Yeah, no.
I see. That's not my thing. I don't like being outdoorsy either. So that I would have never been forced to do this.
I like limited outdoorsy things. I like it with a cap. I'm not camping anymore. I've done it. It's great. That was fun. I am not a child anymore. I need an Airbnb.
Yep.
We can go and do a little daytime hike in a very populated area with rangers that come and patrol on a regular basis, because I ain't getting lost either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The one of the, I think it's Carla or someone draws out like a blueprint, and they show like how the units are there. It's like thick woods. And so they're spread out. They're not that far apart, but it's like thick woods in between.
Yeah.
And so the first time it was like pouring rain, and they all write letters, and Doris writes a letter to her mom that she hates camp and wants to come home immediately.
I just feel like poor Doris's mom can't catch a damn break.
Not one.
Like, she already has the guilt of her daughter literally told her she didn't want to go on the trip, to now, like, and you know, she probably received that letter after her death, most likely.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, because it's not like she got that night.
That's really fucked.
They should have never given that letter to her.
I mean, it's probably already in the fucking mail.
It's probably already in the mail. They probably wrote it, put it in the mail.
Because I thought about that. I was like, well, maybe.
Dude, when did she get that letter?
Like, it was, I bet you it was like after the death. Like, cause I didn't the murders happen almost like
it happened that night.
Yeah. Like it happened
that night.
Quick. Yeah. Like it happened very fucking quick. And so, yeah, they probably threw them. They probably didn't read them. They probably just threw them in the mail. And she has to like also read. That is just, I cannot even, I don't know how
she gets the news, and then like in the mail a couple days later. Oh my God.
You got to be kidding me. It's
oh like, my God.
It's just the ultimate cruel. Like, universe, really?
Oh my God.
Lose that piece of mail.
Lose it. Oh my God. Brutal. So here's the part that is truly like, I don't know how Carla ever recovered from this. In the middle of the night, Carla, at one point, she gets up to deal with like some giggling girls in one cabin. But then a few hours later, she hears a noise coming from the woods. She gets up to investigate it with a flashlight, which is haunting. And she's describing it. She's like, it's not a growl. It's not a moan, but maybe something in between that. And so as she would walk towards it, it would stop. And then she'd turn and walk away, and it would start again. So then she'd walk back towards it, and it would stop. And she'd turn and walk away. So like 3 times. And then eventually she just gave up. And she's forever haunted that she didn't further investigate.
And again, it's so unfair to have that guilt, because honestly, if she had continued, most likely she would have just got murdered too. You know what I mean? She was unprepared for something like that. He would probably blitzed attack
She would have had no weapon, but she would have been so caught off guard because she had no idea what she was walking towards. She thought it was an animal.
Yeah, like it would have just been a fourth murder, honestly. And that's 100%. Probably what would have happened. I understand that she's not going to feel that way, but like as a viewer, I'm like, I wish I could just be like, girl, it is like,
and I'm sure everyone told her that.
I'm sure, but it's just like it's nothing that we could ever say would would ever make her feel any different.
So I just like the fact that she heard it. She's like, I can like only imagine how she can still hear it.
Yeah,
like
it's like it's like that. Ooh, it's chilling.
I just got chills.
I did too. It's like,
ooh. Oh, because like it's a sound that like you can't describe unless you've heard it, and so the only person that's heard it is her.
And she,
oh my God.
I just can't. It's just that's what it sucks about. I mean, obviously, murdering is bad, and no one like it's clearly awful, but it's the after effects of like what happened of the people that are left behind.
Exactly,
the people who may have discovered the things that like it's like the act doesn't just stop with the victims that it happened to. Everyone that is close to them or have to deal with the case are forever affected by it. Like even police people. Like how many times have you watched a true crime thing and there are police people or investigators that are like literally haunted by these cases, and it has like stopped their lives. Like some people have gotten divorced because they just delve into it so much because they want to like give closure and justice to the victims, which is so sweet, but like it really affects everyone.
So many people, even in this, like the crime scene photographer.
Yeah,
he starts crying. It's like it happens every true crime, and it's always like when it's the old guy that starts crying. He's like,
because
I can't. That kills me.
Because they've seen some shit. So anytime, I think that is when I cry the hardest. When I see an old man start, and then that's the sound of the cry too. It's like that, like it's like they're trying so hard, and they're choking back. I lose it.
Me too.
I lose it. Like,
me too. Did you ever watch Band of Brothers?
Yes.
Dude, the beginning of every episode of Band of Brothers, how they would interview the actual real guys. Mm-hmm. And it was the old guys.
Yeah.
And there was this one part was the real Lieutenant Winters or Sergeant Winters or whatever his title was. Yeah. And he cries, like he gets choked up. And I mean, I was a puddle of tears. I think about that all the time because I'm like, okay, now I know that if an old man cries like this, I will be dead. Like I can't handle it without crying
because
sobbing.
You know that they're not criers.
Exactly.
Like it has to be some insane shit that they've gone through seen for them to be doing this right now. Like, insane.
Yep.
They've seen it all.
Yes. And they've been stuffing it down. And it's only when they're forced to really talk about it that it comes up because they've been shoving it down for a long time. And so, then we get introduced to Sheriff Mike Reed. And I like how right away he goes, I'm a quiet sheriff. I'm like, okay, I get who you are. Here we go. Set us up where your character is. And he lets us know he was 8 when this happened. I'm like, got it.
Oh my, like that's
got it. It's been and he only lived like a few miles from the camp. So I'm like, oh, so this was like haunting. Imagine only living a few miles from the camp and you're 8, like you're living in fear.
It's so scary because now you just like at this point, at least, and like, you're just here, like you hear about these murders. So like, and no one knows who it is. So you're just like, my imagination would be running wild. I would be like thinking this person is going to come in my house and be waiting for me. Like, I wouldn't want to be left alone ever. Oh no,
because they feel like they're anywhere. I mean, they got up in the middle of the camp. The guy probably knows. He's like, everyone knows that camp exists, and it's like where all the Girl Scouts go or the Boy Scouts. And like, it's probably like absurd to think that anything like that would ever happen. And so then you feel unsafe everywhere.
I just know how I was as a child, and it's just so interesting to like, as children, you're so naive, and I don't know, the things that you think are like wild when you think about it as an adult. Like I, for the longest time, swear to God, I do not know why I just like invented this rule in my head, but I was like, oh, like daytime people don't commit crimes. Like you don't commit crimes. Like you can't get murdered during the day because it's the daytime. Like you only get to commit crimes at night. Like it would be crazy. Like this would never happen during the day. And I remember I watched an episode of Unsolved Mysteries that shook me to my core. And it was like a home invasion during the day. It looked like a beautiful day. And it was a home invasion. And I was shook because I was like, what? That can happen during the goddamn day?
And then was it during the day that you were watching it?
Yes. And I was like, oh no. And that was like when my mom started like letting me like stay home by myself. And I was like, oh, fuckity fuck. So then I developed a phobia of like she would like ask me like, can you like make sure you vacuum the house by the time I get home? I was like, absolutely not. No, ma'am. Because I was like, I will vacuum when you get home immediately. How about that? We can meet you halfway. It's going to get done on my time though, because I'm not going to be vacuuming up in here. And I can't hear. You kidding me? Not happening to me. I need to have all my sensories. I swear to God, I would not vacuum alone, and I still won't really.
When I was young, there was like I was watching like the daytime news or something. It came on like in between my shows, and there was a spree of home break-ins, and I was convinced that it was about to happen to me. Like I was like, it's coming. So I was hiding like in my room in a corner for like hours, and my parents came home and they were like, what are you doing? I'm like, okay, well, there is a crime spree. And then they were like, should we get a babysitter? I'm like, yes, you assholes.
Yeah. Like I need fucking protection.
Like, why are you leaving? Like I was such a latchkey kid. They're like, you're fine. Right. I'm like, I guess.
Yeah. Like, I mean, same, but it's just like, and my bedroom door didn't have a lock on it. Oof. So I got crafty. Okay. I had a baton that I bought at a garage sale.
Holy shit.
Like the ones that you spin and you catch. Like I bought one at like one of those like fun ones you twirl with your fingers. And
I was imagining you bought like a cop baton.
No, that'd been fun. That would have been great.
And I was like, why did you buy that?
No, it was like one of those
like a fun baton. That's different. Like okay. Yeah.
I saw it at a garage sale once, and I did not buy it for this, what I ended up using it for. I bought it to do the thing. And it's like, yay, fun thing. And then like I at some point developed a really big fear of home invasion, and probably all the Unsolved Mysteries I was watching. Yep. And the way that my dresser was in correlation to because my bedroom wasn't that big, but like, so my dresser was very close to my door. So my door opened, and the door would kind of hit the dresser when you walked in, but you could still easily, like it was fully open, but it still kind of hit it. So I realized that if I put my baton in between the door and the dresser, you can only open the door that much. Nothing you could do. You could, even if you tried to ram it, there's no way you could get in, because the weight of my dresser was, thanks for Mom for buying quality furniture, was too heavy to be able to enter. So I used to do that all the time, especially if I want to keep my mom out, because she was not a knocker. And so that's what I would do sometimes when I started feeling like the creeps and the cracks of the house when I was alone. I was like, fuck that shit. Fuck that noise. Like,
the amount of times I've been scared, like home alone, and like, what is that? Like as an adult, grown ass adult. And I love that I know other people are afraid of the same thing. Social media has made me feel not alone in that. Like all the different people admitting that they're afraid of it too. I'm like, oh, thank God. Cause it's like, I thought it was alone.
Because you're embarrassed of these like random thoughts and things that you might do that you think no one else thinks or does. And then someone will make a video about it and you're like, you too?
I'm like, oh, good. Because I am terrified.
Yeah.
Okay, so horribly, the next morning when Carla gets up, she sees the sleeping bags in the middle of the road and she goes, oh man, let me go grab those and put them away, and realizes, nope. No, she sees a body unclothed and realizes they're dead. And it's the thought process she had at first, because I mean, what an absurd thing to see. I mean, this woman has been coming to Girl Scout camps since she was a Girl Scout herself. You know, this joyous lesbian has been loving Girl Scout camp. She's found herself. She's discovered her happy place. And suddenly there's a dead child. So she's like, she thought that she got spooked in the middle of the night, ran and hit a tree and died, which is like, your brain has to come up with something. Like you can't,
like, you wouldn't think murder. I mean, we would, because of what our experience. But yeah, I mean, it's an innocent time. You've never seen anything like it. You've never heard of anything like it. Like that would be like where you go.
It's Pia and me. We're like, immediately, we get out the caution tape. We're like, this is a crime scene. Immediately.
No one touched the body. Preserve all the evidence. Looking for careful of footprints. We need to find everything.
We immediately put on like our detective outfit. This is our, by the way, this is our detective outfit. This is our, we're solving crime outfits.
We solve crimes over here.
We solve crimes. So she goes and she wakes up the other counselors and says to them, can you imagine waking up the counselors? There's a dead kid in the road. We have to count our kids.
Yeah, like, I don't think I would have believed her, to be honest, just because of the way she woke me up and said it to me. I'd be like, are you sure is a dead child? Like, that seems wild to me. Like, what? Like, I would need to see the kid first. I don't think I would have believed her, because she also seems a little like I feel like doesn't seem credible sometimes. Like, cause she's so like, she seems like a person that has like nothing bad has ever happened to her until this. And I would be like, Sheila is over here.
Carla.
Like,
so then Susan comes and says, there's nobody in tent 7. And so they run and they go tell the camp director, and her husband is an ER nurse, and he runs down to the crime scene and realizes that the other 2 are in the sleeping bags. So now it's a thing. And so we meet this guy, Michael Wheat, who was a reporter, but he's also like a crime scene photographer. And this guy's mustache is so fucking awesome. It's like, it's a handlebar mustache to the next level.
Yeah.
It goes like out past his actual,
I don't know how people grow it like
width.
that. It's interesting. I mean, I know they have to manipulate it, but like,
he is like dedicated. And I bet it's like extra special because he's filming. Like he was like, I'm going to get this.
That's not his regular, that's his like filming mustache.
I bet he was like, oh, I'm going to be on camera. All right. Like,
get the pomade out.
He made it extra special. And so I love that he was working for a YouTuber called The Prior Jeffersonian. That's so newspapery.
It is.
And so I can't believe that he heard, as he was coming up, kids singing songs, and like these camp counselors who are camp counselors, like how much are they getting paid? They, after seeing 3 dead kids, are distracting the other kids with the morning hike.
Oh, I don't know if I would be okay. I don't know if I would be taking, like, we don't know who did this. Like, they could be in the area. I think I would be like, everybody go to one room and let's just stay there. I don't know. That seems crazy.
Oh, that's a good point.
Like, we're just be hiking in the like, come on. Like, I have no idea who's out there. Like, you fucking like
that's a good point.
Like, no,
let's go right over to where there's more crimes possibly that could be committed.
That does not sound like the plan to me. That sounds like we need to all stay in the same fucking room, because at least if the guy comes back, we can all just maybe bum rush them. Like, this got open, we're sitting ducks in this woods.
Well, maybe their thought process was, when all of us are together, he's not going to attack all of us.
Well, I would just be afraid I wouldn't somehow, because the kids don't even know what's going on. So like some kid's gonna see a butterfly and start running around in the forest, and then he's gonna nab that one too. I don't know. Like, that's what I would be thinking.
And then,
I just feel like
she said that they had to pretend that they were like mad at them. Like, you guys kept us up all night, so we're going on a hike.
Oh no. Like, I feel like the plan was not thought through, but they are, you know what? These camp counselors, they're doing everything on the fly. Like,
I'm like, this is above your pay grade, guys. Like, you should have, I mean, I was impressed that they were able to like maintain, like, that's trauma.
That's why we should not be allowing older kids to be policing younger. They're because at the end of the day, they're all kids.
Yeah.
Like,
like,
not that I don't believe in kids babysitting kids either.
I don't either.
Like, I'm like,
that's so over. Like, this was back then though. This is when, like, you know, we still were like, I babysat. I babysat when I was a teenager, and I was a pretty good babysitter though. The worst thing I did was eat their cookie dough in the freezer one time.
No, I never believed in it because I think I saw an episode of 2020 when a kid babysat someone. And then she mysteriously died, and he went to jail for like 3 years. And turned out she just had like some really rare condition that they didn't find out about until like years later. So I said, not on my watch.
Like, always one step ahead, Pia. So, okay. The buses take the rest of the girls back to Tulsa, and the fucking parents. So the news, there's like news reporters everywhere, and they've released that there were 3 children killed, but they didn't release the names, and the parents weren't sure who was killed, so they were waiting for their kids to get off the bus. So literally they're waiting for their kids and like hoping their kids get off the bus. Can you imagine?
And again, this is a time where just
cell phones didn't exist. Like, the communication wasn't as fast as it is and immediate as it is now.
That is so distressing to have to just hope that your kid comes off the bus and then be that the three parents, like, okay, so you're already like really excited that you see your kid. A rush of relief comes over you. You're so happy you're hugging your kid. But then to think about you turn around and you see the parents whose kids didn't come off, and how that will affect you too.
Oof, heavy.
Oh my God. I think that just like, oof, that like, I like literally have like, that's just rough.
That's a lot.
That's like, you go from like, you're just so happy and you can't, and then
you realize
it's their kid.
Oof.
And you're happy it's not your kid, but you're not happy it's their kid. It's a really mixed bags of emotion, and you don't know, like, whoa.
Do you want to take a minute?
That was crazy. No, I'm good. That's a lot. That's crazy.
Sheriff Mike starts, it's like a blank corkboard, and he starts putting up pictures of the crime scene. And I literally was like, now we're in business, Pia.
Oh, yes. I do love when they do that, because I'm like, we're getting to the portion where we're like, let's solve this motherfucker.
Let's solve this crime. That's what we're here for. And we know now that they were killed in the tent. Evidence supports they were killed in the tent and then taken out.
Well, I feel like they were trying to say that they didn't kill him in the tent, and they may have been killed in the fort. No.
They were saying they were killed in the tent, stuffed in the sleeping bags, and then like the bag was like thrown over the shoulder and taken.
That's true. That is what they said. But I just felt like that was so weird to me that he took the bodies out of the tent. Like, I didn't understand why, because it's not like he was doing it to hide the bodies, because he
took them in the middle of the road.
Yeah, like he put them in almost plain sight. I almost feel like if he had left them in the tent, it would have took longer for them to discover the bodies. And what was she hearing when she heard something in? Yeah. Was that him sexually assaulting? I kind of feel like they may have. Oh, this was my theory. Sorry. Okay. I wanted to say that to you. I don't think necessarily they were murdered in the tent. I think they may have been like assaulted or like somehow like, because I know there was
they
blood.
were clearly there's blood all over the place.
But I think it like maybe he murdered one in there just to like get the other two to fall in line, march them out into the woods, and did whatever he had to do. And maybe then the other one that he murdered in the thing maybe came back, grabbed her, and just put them all in one place. I don't know. Because I'm just trying to think of why it did. That part really bugged me. I was like, you murder these 3 girls inside of a tent. Then you do extra work by taking them out and putting them on the road where you could get caught doing all of that, taking 3 bodies out. He had to do it had to probably do it one at a time. So you're making multiple trips back and forth to not even obscure the bodies.
Yeah, because he left them in the middle of the road. It's
the not trying to hide the bodies that make it really weird that he would go through all that trouble and like potentially get caught doing all that. I feel like it's more plausible that one of the murders happened in the tent, and then he decided to like maybe put the other 2 so he could sexually assault. I have a feeling that what's the one that Carla. I have a feeling Carla was probably the last one to go because like
Doris.
I feel like Doris was the last one to go because she was the one that was
the one that was sexually assaulted.
I think that she was probably the last one to go, like because it like he was probably able to keep her contained by showing her what could happen to her.
Yeah, that is a good point. The decision to not even because the woods are there.
Yeah,
like,
it's just
he could have easily dumped them in the very dense woods.
Yeah, it just
as opposed to in the middle of the road.
That just really stuck out to me. Like it's something about it doesn't make sense. So I feel like the way in which it happened was like that's what I feel like happened. Like one of the assaults
because a lot of blood was present in the tent.
Yeah.
And I could see you being correct in that one of them was murdered in the tent and Doris maybe was not murdered in the tent. Okay. Because it's just like we're going to keep unfolding things. This was just like a more like introducing us to it. So
yeah,
this is a good, but that is a good point. Like why in the middle of the road? This was before DNA. So they probably weren't. And again, this is before serial killers were being caught all the time. And so like people just weren't thinking that way.
Yeah. Because more of it, like, yeah, it's before DNA and all that stuff. So I don't think he was like thinking about any of that kind of stuff. We're trying to get rid of evidence. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I just
really,
like,
why not put him in the woods?
Like, if you're going to go through all that trouble, I feel like you're doing that because you want to hide the bodies. And you didn't hide the bodies. You actually, you just
exposed them more.
You not only exposed them more, you left yourself open to get caught more because it'd be taking 1, 2, 3. Like you had so like there like that's.
Oh, loud. You think he went back and forth?
No, I think that if they're saying that all of the murders happened in the tent, he would have had to go back and forth, taking one body out at a time. Don't you think you can't?
No, he put 2 of them in the same sleeping bag. I thought.
But you think that he was able to put, and then just like, I just feel like
that's so small.
They're small, but that's still kind of a lie. I feel like that would be like clunky, noisy. I just feel like it doesn't seem like the best plan.
But if they're small kids and they were slumped at the bottom of a sleeping bag, it just becomes like a knapsack. Oh, I hate saying that. To me is plausible. That to me is plausible. But it is plausible that one of them was alive. Doris was alive. The other 2 were not. And he just put their bodies in the sleeping bag and flung it over his. That is plausible to me.
Yeah. Okay. Because I just feel like
men can lift pretty.
They can. Heavy. I was also just thinking about the tent because remember there's that pole in the middle, so it
pole in the middle, and that's what had the blood on it.
Yeah, which is what got him with the knapsack Santa
and that's
Claus
what he thinks.
Analogy.
That's all.
Right. This is not fact.
That's a theory.
But I was just like, that's a theory, and I like he obviously did take them out of the thing, so that did happen. I just feel like
you think that he possibly killed one, brought them out of the tent, killed another, brought them out of the tent?
I think he probably, to get them under control, not make any noise, not scream, he probably killed one because to control it right away. Because they're kids, they're like, that's gonna be really scary. Like, if you like, this is going to happen. You shut your mouth. Don't make a noise. Yeah. You'll live. And he did whatever. And because obviously it's sexual assault happened, and then he probably did I feel like he did the other murder. Maybe he did both of them, both of the two kids, murderers in the tent. I just feel like Doris was not in the tent, which is why everybody ended up outside. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't know why he would just take them outside. He could have just left them in the tent. Does that make sense? I feel like one of the murders had to have happened outside, and he just like, I don't know.
Okay, so here's my theory. My theory is he murdered let me get their names up. He murdered Lori and Michelle in the tent.
Okay.
Put them in the sleeping bags, mm-hmm. and then took Doris out to the woods, sexually assaulted her and murdered her, mm-hmm. and then like dumped them in the middle of the road. That's my theory. I've only seen a little bit of the crime scene. So that is where I was to gather more intel.
I actually agree with that. That's where I was like, I was trying to figure out how I felt about the order of operations, but I think that's the cleanest way is what you just said. Okay. I definitely think Doris was let out though.
Yeah.
Alive.
Me too, because she was the one that was unclothed.
Yeah.
Although we still don't know what the state of the other girls was, but it would make sense since this appears to be sexually motivated.
Yeah.
And also let's think about too, this is a weird location. It's very secluded. So this man could be a vagrant that was like living in the woods, which is making it impossible to find him. Who knows who they've investigated.
Yeah, we're just we barely have gotten into the crime in this first episode.
Yeah. It's more about the families, which it should be. Let's honor the families and all of that.
And we haven't even met the other little girl's family.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't. Did we meet her at all?
I can't recall.
I wonder if they may not be alive.
Oof. Or they may just not want to talk about it.
And that is fair. Because Beau Farmer, he was finishing a night shift at the nursing department when he got the call. I mean, I can't even imagine. And it's whenever anyone talks about getting that call, it's like as soon as you hear them say they were found dead, it all goes blank because you just can't process it. Like your brain can't. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
And then Betty was at her job at the school and was told in the office, but she said something interesting because Betty had a 5-year-old daughter as well.
Yeah.
And her 5-year-old daughter said, "Mom, what happens when people die?" And Betty was like, "Why?" And she said, "Everyone is going to die tomorrow." Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. And I was so like, that family has like incredible intuition. And I believe in that wholeheartedly.
I was like, she just glazed over that. I said, "Excuse me, can we get this girl? Like, she needs to be like a medium or something." Because
I think that they were like, especially children, they're very connected to like that kind of like that almost like that realm that like when you get to be an adult, you like kind of disconnect from because of all your shit you've gone through.
Yeah, totally. And Doris was strangled. And as true crime fans, we know that strangulation is like the most intimate way to murder someone. Whenever investigators find out someone was strangled, it's like, oof, because it's it's close. You're very close to the person and you have to, it's like you have to hold on for a while. So
that also furthermore makes me feel like Doris was the last to be murdered, because I don't think that he would have been able to contain the other two girls. Strangling is not usually instantaneous unless you like snap the neck. Which is what makes it really intimate, because you are literally watching the life come out of someone. And I don't think he would have been able to contain the two other girls while he's trying to strangle Doris to death. I think that it makes more sense that that's why she maybe, I don't know the state of her body, but it seems like it was more of like the strangulation than the beating that the other two girls maybe got. Mm-hmm. And it makes more sense that he's in the woods now. He's done what he's going to do to Doris, like sexually. And now he needs to, he's probably lied to her at this point. Like, I'm going to let you go, which is probably why she stayed as quiet as she probably could. And then he, of course, is a liar and kills her.
Yeah. Sherry, Lori's mom said, because when they said, can you sit down? We have to tell you something. She's like, no, I will not sit down. Because the way she said it, she goes, because I knew everything was whatever they were going to say was going to change everything. And it's like we said, it's just insane how everyone involved, because then here comes Michael Wheat, the guy that took the picture of the crime scene. And he's talking about how there was a lot of blood on the floor. And then he starts to cry. And then I'm done. As soon as an old man starts crying, I'm done. I can't, with his mustache, I can't handle it.
Yeah.
I can't. So Sheriff Mike said, after taking office, he had family members come in. And this is like the motivation for the show. Family members coming in begging him to solve this. And this is a great way to end this first episode, because he goes, I looked them in the eye and I told them I would do my very best. Cue music and Kristin. And she's like slow-mo walking. And she's like, I came to learn what murder was. And there was bad in the world. So now it's time to get answers once and for all. Blackout. I can't wait. It's only 4 episodes.
I know.
Which is good, because I can't handle more.
Are you going to be sneaky and just watch it all because you can't wait, or are you going to really just do it one at a time?
Well, let me tell you why, because this is my first time taking notes on a true crime show, and it's definitely not as fun to watch something when you're taking notes.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to binge through it because I can't, it's not as fun to take notes. I mean, not as fun to watch when you're taking notes. That's the only reason I'm not going to binge it.
Well, it's hard. It's hard to do both, because I actually watched this episode 2.5 times, because I had to remind myself, don't be on your phone, because
I kept doing the same thing.
Yeah. I would have to rewind it, because maybe Sean would talk to me, and I'm like, I really Bravo. You don't have to be glued to it.
Yeah.
True crime, if you really want to start puzzle piecing things together, or learning information, every little detail counts. So I wanted to not miss stuff. And there was one point where I was I think I missed a whole chunk, and I went back, and I was because I was just how I just zoned out for a second, not because it wasn't interesting, just because sometimes I just do that. And I was just oh no, I feel like I didn't hear that. And I wanted to go back, because I really want to, this is the way that they're unfolding. And I don't know the whole case like that. I just knew a rough idea of what happened. So I don't know if they solve it. I don't know anything yet.
And the same.
And I
feel like they don't.
I mean, I doubt that they're breaking.
It would have been we would have seen in the news, they finally solved.
Right. That's the one thing with social media. It's not
it would have been ruined.
Yeah, it would have been ruined, or we would have seen something on it. And I haven't heard anything about it. So my best guess is that they did not solve it, which is a bummer, which is honestly one of the reasons why I don't love watching cold cases.
Same.
Because I don't get closure. I usually don't watch it.
Same.
Just because
I don't like the lack of closure.
The lack of closure really upsets me.
I'm well, what's the point? I'm this isn't my job. It's your job.
Yeah. It's
your job is to tell me.
Yeah. It's just, I because I will never stop thinking about it. So you can imagine that we're just watching it as a viewer, and I literally can't, anytime I watch I can't stop thinking. I will never stop thinking about it. And I will always want to know more, and it drives me nuts. So can you imagine the investigators on that? Who actually,
that's the thing.
That I can understand how people can get so invested in a case and ruin their whole lives, in the sense of they get so wrapped up in it. They neglect their own living family and they grow distance from their children and their spouse or whatever. Because I feel that way just as a viewer. I'm like, I need to know. I wish I could do more to like be helpful in solving this case. Like, what am I missing? But
are we just going to be so frustrated watching this?
I don't think that we're going to be so frustrated. I think at least enough time has passed where at least with a cold, with fresh cold, I don't like to watch fresh cold cases. Like in the sense of like if it's been like 1 or 2 years, like I don't really love it because they don't have enough time to like maybe collect new evidence. At least with the case like this, like they've been working on it for over like 30 years now. So even if it's not solved, you could see their progress at least. So like when it hopefully one day is solved, you have all that context and then you get to see the end result. So that's also a cool way of thinking of it, like with the hopes that they're gonna solve it one day. And I think that they quite possibly can, because again, there was no DNA back there. And
that's the thing, the DNA, man,
and
changed
honestly,
everything.
23andMe also is so helpful too, because even if that person doesn't have a record now, if they have any living relative that has done like a 23andMe or anything like that, that has put their DNA and data in the database, it can actually, and a lot of people have been caught this way, it can connect you to someone. Yeah, because because they have like the familial matches. Familial matches. So people have been caught that way, where like a second cousin or like a niece, they're like, they've done this and they like it's hit some DNA or whatever, and then like, yeah, and then they've been able to get closer to who that person was.
All right. Well, we'll see how this plays out. We may just end this and be like, well, that was a waste of time.
Well, but you know what? Then maybe, who knows? Like people, that's the good thing. It's like, I'm so happy that they do make these docuseries for cold cases,
because it brings it back in, because then sleuths come out.
That's what exactly it does, bring it back, because like we've watched documentaries where people of the internet are wild. Yeah. People have such an arsenal of of techniques and traits in their repertoire that can help investigators get closer than they could ever get on their own, because they have limitations, you know?
It's so true.
I hope that this documentary like triggers something, and maybe somebody from that town was like, actually, I remember I had a weird uncle that actually, like, you know, you never know.
No, you're right. It's about bringing it. It's about bringing awareness back to it.
And like even doing this YouTube recap, like you never know what random person might see this and then watch the documentary because of it. And then that, like, I'm not saying that we're going to like be I'm just saying the more eyes on it is, the better.
What you're saying is this may solve the crime.
I mean, maybe. Okay. Maybe.
Okay. Well, okay, YouTube. Thanks for joining us if you did. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh. Hit that bell.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.